You're listening to Art Destinations, a fortnightly podcast exploring how islands shape imagination. Each season, we speak with artists and thinkers whose work is deeply connected to these distinct and contained places. Following our series set in Luchuita, Tasmania, and Venice, this season takes us to Sicily. Hello, my name is Sarah Rhodes. I'm your host and co-produce Art Destinations with Alfio Puglisi, Director of the Sicily Art Residency Program, as part of our shared interest in understanding how defined landscapes influence creative practice. Together, we created this podcast to connect artists working on the periphery and to offer a space where ideas of place and belonging can be explored. Today, we are in conversation with Vito Planeta, who is developing the culture arm of Planeta Wineries. The family focus is to develop the natural coexistence between wine and contemporary art in Sicily. The 27-year-old is realising the dream of his uncle, also known as Vito Planeta, who passed away in 2023 at just 57. Planeta left a huge legacy of bringing Sicilian wine to the world stage and promoting art and culture throughout Sicily. Now the next generation carries the baton to see Sicily become a significant player in the global contemporary art scene. We will share some of the Planeta Cultura activities at our Instagram page at artdestinations.podcast. Subscribe to Art Destinations on your hosting platform so you don't miss an episode, and even leave a review. Your contribution supports us. Welcome to Art Destinations Sicily, Vito. It's really lovely to have you here.
It's a pleasure for me to be here. I hope to satisfy the curiosity and to speak about Sicily, destination. There is a lot of things to say and to discover, and here I am.
This is a very exciting time for Planeta wineries because you won probably multiple international awards last year, Winemaker of the Year and Wine Family of the Year. And this is a real testimony to the contribution that your family has made to Sicily over the last 500 years or 17 generations. It's quite amazing that one family can continue in the footsteps of the last generation for so long.
I believe it's interesting to do the double story between the new story linked to contemporary art and to the wine. Basically, that has a lot of place in the world where it's not common to produce wine. Sicily became an important point on the map around the world for the wine production, and we start to produce wine in a place where it was not obvious that it were possible. It were not obvious that it were possible to produce a good wine. Going back to my presence, to my work, to my path, in the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years, there was this my uncle Vito, with the same name as mine. My name is Vito Planeta, and his name were Vito Planeta. So in the last 10 years, he started to organize this path to let people via the artist's vision know all the not our place but the Sicily, that were a place in Italy that were legendary, really linked to the ancient Greek and Mediterranean stories, but not really discovered. There was some episode of narration. If you think about the Leopard, the novel by Giuseppe Tomasi di Lampedusa. If you think about the sad example, because it's a great film and novel, but it's a sad example of The Godfather. There were some sporadic narration. We went back to to let people discover this place via a group of artists that were going around Sicily to tell their side about Sicily, their vision about Sicily. So sadly, you were a great and interesting person because you were not exactly an entrepreneur. You were more an intellectual, as you mean in all the European meanings. Sadly, he passed away, and he left me 2 years and a half a great path linked to a team, a bag of artworks and an unorganized scenario in our place. I were really scared because, it was a giant things that I had to organize, and I were really scared to lose all these path. The best things I tried to do were to reorganize all these really important by my side story. That is the first, the bigger things he left me. It's not something material, not something ideological. It was a story.
Okay, so how did it come about that you would take on his path, or were you always going to work together before he knew that he would pass? Like how and it's such a coincidence. You have the same name. His vision was very visionary.
He passed away for 2 years ago, and my decision was to organize all these artworks and stories in a curatorial, let's say, zone that is in Noto, our winery in Noto, and in Etna. That is the two places where we organized all the contemporary art collection, and we opened a library that is a library on the Lago Arancio, on the beach of this lake in Sambuca di Sicilia, on the West Sicily, so on the other side of Sicily. Let me start from the library. The library is interesting because it's a library that is not a proper library. He were a great reader of James Joyce and of the whole the period of writers in Europe. But it's a library that is full of also silly books, and it is do you know the type of artworks by Tracy Emin where she take his bed and she put it in this exhibition. So of course it's a place that live about readers and activity and actions, but of course it's also a method to let his vision alive, literally. I mean, sometimes you have the famous archives, the famous or this type of things. We decided to not add. Of course, there's something new that passed by there, but to not add, trendy books to let his collection be read. So going back to this path about the double Vito and continuing, there was this period between now and that moment where my necessity were to organize all these materials, organize all these stories, and the first years and a half, 2 years, I were really scared, going back to what I was saying before, to lose not the people, not the type of scare, but to lose the respect for the work he did. And there is nobody never said about contemporary art in Sicily that it were possible to do. We are not a big corporate industry where we buy artworks or we pay people and we organize the show. That's not our method. That's not my method, because it is something that, of course, it's if you can do it. Let's speak about some goal of Uncle Vito's path. For example, there is the Fibonacci series in Noto and the Clairefontaine in Etna. Going back to this path that I organized, there is all this type of action he did in life. That is, for example, the Fibonacci series we installed in Etna Nuova. For example, last year I went to Paris to the Arte Povera exhibition in Bourse de Commerce, the Pinot collection, the Arnaud collection, excuse me. And I were walking there, and there was this giant Fibonacci series. That artwork is in 3 series, I think, and is one in Torino in the Mole Antonelliana, that is the bigger monument of Turin. One in the Bourse de Commerce, and the third is in our winery. And for me, it was a giant thing to see, because it was, it's a centrality of Sicily due to the contemporary art and to the relations, to the not relation in a greedy meaning, but in a sincere, I don't know if it's English, in a sincere way of the meaning.
I was going to say, you describe this moment in Sicily as being a historical moment and a really important moment. Why is that?
So I don't believe to important in a way that is important because we will be rich, not in that meaning. It's not a golden moment. It's important. Why? Because, going back to the unity of Italy, there was a lot of attention to the North Italy and less to the South Italy. I think in every country there is this type of path. If you think about, I honestly don't know in Australia, but like in UK, in the United States, in Spain, there is a lot of in France the same things. So there was these things in Italy where there is a North Italy that were really rich, and there was the industry, and the South were a little bit more, not poor, but there were more the agriculture, and people from South Italy were moving to North Italy. Going to the actual situation, doing a big jump, there is this situation where Sicily have a position that is linked to a lot of things that is important, I believe. Like, for example, there is the migration for all the war in the Middle East from the North Africa, and then path to arrive in Europe is via Sicily. When there is some war in the Maghreb, like when there was the Libyan war, it's blocked, but the path is via Sicily. If you think about the last place of Europe in south, if you speak about South, that's the Sicily. If you think about place where there was the finish of the Greek culture, the start of the Roman culture, melting pot for Northern European culture actor. I think about Goethe, Wagner. That's Sicily. So it's a strange moment. Why? Going back, not because I don't want to do the egocentric Sicilian person that say how beautiful it is, but it is, I think, a moment of where people, maybe we did it with the wine, and I am trying to do it with the culture, but where people start to understand how rich we are, because when you think about the big problem in the world of super globalization, of the finish of the place to live, because we are now how many? We are 8 billion. I don't want to. So people start to going back from the city to the countryside. Same things in Italy, for example. People are going back to understand how is important to have to discover other places. I don't know. I don't want to do the duality between Sicily and Tasmania, because it's really different, and maybe the risk is to say stupid and silly things. But for example, about Sicily, the big challenge now is to not to start to not think about ourselves as a secondary identity, not to think about ourselves as a place where you are able to produce. I believe that things as the wine or the culture of all the culture, I mean contemporary art, but culture in general, if you think about the theater, about all these things, I believe that type of richness and, to love ourselves is something we should start to do, but not only in Sicily. I think also, for Africa, Middle East, in all the zone in general, South America, Oceania, all the place of the world where it were not obvious, historically speaking, that there will be life. If you think about the history, it were never obvious that a place would have been the center of the world. If you think about the discovery of the America, if you think about, I don't know, also maybe Australia, also your story, if you think about a lot of other places, it's a continuum in Latin of change of the epicenter of the world. And so I don't think tomorrow Sicily will become the cultural center of the world, but maybe the day after tomorrow. And I hope to places as Australia and Tasmania too. And that don't want to be a challenge to the cultural movement of UK or a lot of our places. But I believe there is a lot of things to do and to learn and space to do in places as Sicily or secondary plays.
It's so interesting. It's very inspiring. Maybe the islands that we interview for the art destinations can be the cultural capitals, the peripheries. Why contemporary art and why culture as a sort of marriage with or a partnership with wine?
So that's interesting. So it's not obvious. When you think about a winery and about art or culture in general, you think, yeah, they took that 5% and they invest in art. And of course, it's a work for me, but it's something that I will not be okay to think about what I do only as a working performance. So when you think about art, is the language of the people, of something you see, of the eyes of the people. When I deal with my family path, with my father's work, I every time think that he's not simply doing alcohol for let people drink. That's not the wine. The wine is I believe is the language of a place. When you drink a wine from Tasmania, or when you drink a wine from China, from South America, from France, it have a different taste and language. Same things, exactly the same things for artists and artwork. Let me do an example, a really simple example. when you go to Berlin, you speak with the Berlinese people of the contemporary scene, you can clearly see what they do. I mean, that's not a disrespectful, because I really like also a lot of things from this zone. When you go to South America, and the last Biennale of Venezia was, I believe, clear about it. When you go to South America, you see totally different things. When you go to the Tate Modern, or when you go to the Milan galleries, you can clearly see that there is a difference between the vision. Same things with the wine. Of course, the wine is something that is really ancient and is another path, of course. But I believe it's in a way a form of art of the soil of the terroir around the world. And of course, the wine is the product of the viogniers who produce the wine. So it's not it's not simply you plant you plant your plant and you produce wine. You need a lot of experience. Or sometimes it's miracles. Like I like sometimes to drink the simple wine, for example. It's not, it's important for me. It's not, we don't think about the more you pay, the best you drink. That's of course the same thing with the contemporary art. Of course, I would love to have a Picasso at my place, but it don't mean that if you're not Picasso, you are not an artist. The same thing I say for the wine. So I believe that I was clear. I'm so sorry for my English. I have a lot of things to say.
You're doing a good job. Now, on your website, the tagline is "Our destination is not a place, but a new way of seeing things," which is really sort of encapsulates what you just said then. So I thought that was very poetic. And I think it's also interesting that you're working with artists in different ways on these sites. And you've got 5 sites and you call it a constellation, which I thought was quite clever, given your name. And you've got a constellation of projects. And one of those projects at the Memphi Winery is called Verso Terra, where you're working with artists on climate change. Are you still doing that?
I will be really honest. I don't think there is something to hide about it. When the uncle was alive, we start to do a place where there was this site-specific installation. When he passed away, we closed it and we decided to let it become Studiolo, so the library I was speaking about before. So in general, we were speaking about what to say in this important fair in Italy. And we start when I was a kid in 2007 to speak about sustainability and all this type of narration. I believe, of course, now it's something that have to be part of the life. And you know what we said? We said, we have to start to speak about something else because, it's something that is so internal to our type of living the place, the lands. That isn't something I don't think we have to continue to say. I mean, it's so important that it's obvious. About the sustainability, we start a lot of years ago, and you can search also the how do you say, the news on the internet when it was not cool. Now that is cool, maybe I believe you can. The risk is to look as the type of corporate that want to do the greenwash. So basically, I believe that going back to the central meaning of this speaking. I believe that the best way to do this type of sustainability is to love the place where you do your actions. When you think about culture in Sicily or in Tasmania or where people need it, because somewhere people need it and somewhere else people need to maybe to start to unlearn things. When you think about it, I think is a way of sustainability, because it is something that helps the place. If the question were, are we sustainable? Yeah, we are, definitely. If you think about all the certificates and all that, we are. But I believe that now people should have learned to have all this side internal of their type of life.
Well, I think that's a really lovely way of thinking about it, just loving the place that you are. And you're right. We need to think about things in a different way. They need to be sort of more part of how we live rather than trying to do something. It should just be already part of you. I was pretty excited to find out that White Lotus was filmed in one of your resorts.
Yeah, Sciara is one of the two places where we have the path linked to contemporary art. So the White Lotus is a funny moment for Planeta, because there was this search for a location in Sicily. Our path were not a please can we do it, but more a friendship with people that were involved, and so we decided to do it, and that was and it happened. There also was a funny pilgrimage of White Lotus lovers, and honestly, I liked it. It's in a way, I think you should see White Lotus not so seriously, because it's in a way a parody of the white peoples in general, about and our way is also, and I really find it an ironic participation.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I mean, it's true. There is definitely tourism where there's a bakery in Ross, in this little village in Tasmania, where people are sure that Kiki's delivery service, the Studio Ghibli, they are sure that it's based off this bakery because it looks a little bit like that. So many Japanese people go to that bakery in this tiny village in the middle of Tasmania just because they think that that is Kiki's bakery.
My daughter is a great lover of Kiki, and I'm too.
Oh, you'll have to come to Tasmania and see the bakery.
I will come for a lot of other things to Tasmania, but if I will able, I will give a look.
I had a last question. As you mentioned earlier in the conversation, you're just 27, so you've had a remarkable career so early and following in the footsteps of your uncle. How have you navigated that?
So let me have the personal moment. My life from when I was 15 till my 27 was is a giant run, and now I start to be more relaxed, and I'm happy because it is in some way the life of a person of other times. Of course, I'm a young father, the young father of a daughter that is terribly similar to me, and really curious about the world. And I'm really happy to be a father, and it helped me a lot to be more mature in general. I think it's really important what people do in his life for the little eternity, because of course we are nothing in the universe. We are a little dot in the universe, but it's important to what is our type of being on the earth. And you met me in a really strange moment of my life, because it's a really good moment, but it's a moment that I didn't ask for, speaking about the career, because of course the person before me my uncle Vito, where we didn't expect for that. Usually you receive, I don't know, like a big heritage, lands or money or things. And I received a point to start that met my life in a moment that is really, important by my side. That is that I don't think we are, the chosen, in the world, the chosen in the history. That's a big, guilty of the people of nowadays. I think that the best things we can do is to live things, in the best way we are able to.
That's a beautiful place to finish. Thank you so much, Vito, for your generosity.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Me too. And also, please, can I, if I can finish like this, that Sicily is open to all people who want to come by, to pass by, and I would be really happy to have you all here.
Thank you for listening to this conversation with Vito Planeta. Be reminded about the next episode of Art Destination Sicily by subscribing to our fortnightly newsletter on our website artdestinations.org. I'm your host, Sarah Rhodes. Ciao for now.